Chapter 6, Outsiders. Johnny gagged and I almost dropped my hot fudge sundae. Cherry? We both said at the same time. The Soch? Yeah, Dally said. She came over to the vacant lot the night Two-Bit was jumped. Shepard and some of his outfits and us were hanging around there when she drives up in her little old Stingray. That took a lot of nerve. Some of us was for jumping her then and there, her being the dead kid's girl and all, but Two-Bit stopped us. Man, next time I want a broad, I'll pick up my own kind. Yeah, Johnny said slowly, and I wondered if, like me, he was remembering another voice, also tough and just deepened into manhood, saying, next time you want a broad, pick up your own kind. It gave me the creeps. Dally was going on. She said she felt that the mess was her fault, which it is, and that she'd keep up with what was coming off at the Soches in the Rumble, and would testify that the Soches were drunk and looking for a fight, and that you fought back in self-defense. He gave a grim laugh. That little gal sure does hate me. I offered to take her over to the Dingo for a Coke, and she said, no, thank you, and told me where I could go in a very polite terms. She was afraid of loving you, I thought. So Cherry Valance, the cheerleader, Bob's girl, the Soch, was trying to help us? No, it wasn't Cherry the Soch who was helping us. It was Cherry the dreamer, who watched sunsets and couldn't stand fights. It was hard to believe a Soch would help us. Even a Soch that dug sunsets. Dally didn't notice. He hadn't forgotten about it already. Man, this place is out of it. What do they do around here for kicks? Play checkers? Dally surveyed the scene without interest. I ain't never been in the country before. Have you two? Johnny shook his head, but I said, Dad used to take us all hunting. I've been to the country before. How'd you know about the church? Oh, I got a cousin that lives around here somewheres. Tipped me off it might make a tough hideout in case of something. Hey, Ponyboy, I heard you was the best shot in the family. Yeah, I said. Derry always got the most ducks, though. Him and Dad. Soda and I goofed off too much and scared most of our game away. I couldn't tell Dally that I hated to shoot things. He'd think I was soft. Well, that was a good idea. I mean, cutting your hair and bleaching it. They printed your descriptions in the paper, but you sure wouldn't fit 'em now. Johnny had been quietly finishing his 5th barbecue sandwich, but now he announced, we're going back and turn ourselves in. It was Dally's turn to gag. Then he swore a while. Then he turned to Johnny and demanded, what? I said we're going back to turn ourselves in, Johnny repeated in a quiet voice. It was surprised but not shocked. I had thought about turning ourselves in lots of times, but apparently the whole idea was a jolt to Dallas. I got a good chance of being let off easy, Johnny said desperately, and I didn't know if it was Dally he was trying to convince or himself. I ain't got no record with the fuzz, and it was self-defense. Ponyboy and Cherry can testify to that, and I don't aim to stay in the church all my life. That was quite a speech for Johnny. His big black eyes grew bigger than ever at the thought of going to the police station, for Johnny had a deathly fear of cops, but he went on. We won't tell that you helped us, Dally, and we'll give you back the gun and what's left of the money and say we hitchhiked back so you won't get in trouble, okay? Dally was chewing on the corner of his ID card, which gave his age as 21, so he could buy liquor. You sure you want to go back? Us greasers get it worse than anyone else. Johnny nodded. I'm sure. It ain't fair for Ponyboy to have to stay up in that church with Derry and Soda, worrying about him all the time. I don't guess. He swallowed and tried not to look eager. I don't guess my parents are worried about me or anything. Well, the boys are worried, Dally said in a matter-of-fact voice. Two-Bit was going to Texas to hunt for you. My parents, Johnny repeated doggedly. Did they ask about me? No, snapped Dally. They didn't. Blasted Johnny, what do they matter? Shoot, my old man don't give a hang whether I'm in jail or dead in a car wreck or drunk in the gutter. That don't bother me none. Johnny didn't say anything, but he stared at the dashboard with such hurt bewilderment that I could have bawled. Dally cussed under his breath and nearly tore out the transmission of the T-Bird as we roared out of the Dairy Queen. I felt sorry for Dally. He meant it when he said he didn't care about his parents. But he and the rest of the gang knew Johnny cared and did everything they could to make it up to him. I don't know what it was about Johnny. Maybe that lost puppy look and those big scared eyes were what made everyone his big brother. But they couldn't, no matter how hard they tried, take the place of his parents. I thought about it for a minute. Derry and Soda Pop were my brothers, and I loved both of them, even if Derry did scare me. But not even Soda could take Mom and Dad's place. And they were my real brothers, not just sort of adopted ones. No wonder Johnny was hurt because his parents didn't want him. Dally could take it. Dally was of the breed that could take anything because he was hard and tough, and when he wasn't, he could turn hard and tough. Johnny was a good fighter and could play it cool, but he was sensitive, and that isn't a good way to be when you're a greaser. "Blast it, Johnny!" Dally growled as we flew along the red road. "Why didn't you think of turning yourself in 5 days ago? It would have saved a lot of trouble." I was scared," Johnny said with conviction. "I still am." He ran his finger down one of his short black sideburns. "I guess we ruined our hair for nothing, Pony Boy." "I guess so. I was glad we were going back. I was sick of that church, and I didn't care if I was bald." Dally was scowling, and from a long, painful experience, I knew better than to talk to him when his eyes were blazing like that. I'd likely as not get clobbered over the head. That had happened before, just as it had happened to all the gang at one time or another. We rarely fought among ourselves. Derry was the official leader since he kept his head best. Soda and Steve had been the best friends since grade school and never fought. And Two-Bit was just too lazy to argue with anyone. Johnny kept his mouth shut too, much to get into arguments, and nobody ever fought with Johnny. I kept my mouth shut too, but Dally was a different matter. If something beefed him, he didn't keep quiet about it. And if you rubbed him the wrong way, look out. Not even Derry wanted to tangle with him. He was dangerous. Johnny just sat there and stared at his feet. He hated for any one of us to be mad at him. He looked awful sad. Dally glanced at him out of the corner of his eye. I looked out the window. "Johnny," Dally said in a pleading high voice, using a tone I'd never heard from him. "Johnny, I ain't mad at you. I just don't want you to get hurt. You don't know what a few months in jail can do to you." "Aw, blast it, Johnny." He pushed his white blonde hair back out of his eyes. "You get hardened in jail. I don't want that to happen to you, like it happened to me." I kept staring out the window at the rapidly passing scenery, but I felt my eyes getting round. Dally never talked like that. Never. Dally didn't give a Yankee dime about anyone but himself, and he was cold and hard and mean. He never talked about his past or being in jail. That way, if he talked about it at all, it was to brag. And I suddenly thought of Dally, in jail at the age of 10. Dally, growing up in the streets. "Would you rather have me living in hideouts for the rest of my life, always on the run?" Johnny asked seriously. If Dally had said yes, Johnny would have gone back to the church without hesitation. He figured Dally knew more than he did, and Dally's word was law. But he never heard of Dally's answer, for we reached the top of Jay Mountain, and Dally suddenly slammed on the brakes and stared. "Oh, glory," he whispered. The church was on fire.